We're away.
Alright, so welcome to the Simple Adventures podcast. This is Nathan, this is George, I'm Rick. Now, we're going to start with Nathan. All about yourself. Go.
So I sort of started all this because I just really enjoy being outside, and the simplicity of life outside is one of my biggest draw cards. And sharing that experience with others has been fantastic. Like it's what I love to do. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. George?
Well, I'm Nathan's brother, and
You're doing this because I told you you had to?
yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And Rick?
Well, I got roped into this because, I just happened to be around here drinking tea one day and Nathan decided, hey, we should do a podcast about stuff. And I was like, okay, why not? I know absolutely nothing about camping. Right, it's a tiny little lie. Everything I know about camping comes from a 1940s Boy Scout manual. So I know basically nothing about modern camping. So I'm basically going to be the person asking all the silly questions that you guys want the actual answers to.
Alright, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep. Next we're going to talk about things that have been happening recently. You had something to bring up?
Yeah, in relation to, which one was that? Yes, right, of course, a couple of weeks ago there was a big thing that happened with Katmandu in regards to them throwing away their old goods, which caused a bit of a controversy. So I figured we'd start with talking about that because it's...
So what were they throwing away though?
Shoes, boots...
Tents, sleeping bags.
Why were they throwing them away? Were they like last year's models or...?
What they said was that they were returned goods that were no longer functional. So apparently the tents were no longer waterproof. The sleeping bags were old and stained, or someone's brought their old bag in to get disposed of, or something like that.
Okay.
And they've been chucking them out. And also, one of the reasons they gave, and the stuff I read online, was that they've had cases of people going through their bins and trying to get a refund of things.
Because they were destroying it, weren't they?
They were destroying it.
Yeah.
And that was to help prevent that.
Well, that makes sense. What's people's issue with it?
Well, apparently there was a video that was taken where they had a homeless guy in the background. They were like, hey, look at these shoes, and then they were slashing the shoes and throwing them in the bin then.
Oh, okay.
And so the question got raised, well, why are they not at least looking at giving some of the stuff, particularly some of the return goods that are still mostly functional, like for example it's got a stain or it lost a button or something like that. Why can some of that stuff be moved on to, say, like the Salvation Army or somewhere like that?
It's fair enough, but I mean most of the time that stuff's not, most of it's probably not worth passing on. I know the op shops and stuff, they don't want things that are broken. And to be honest, they get enough stuff as it is, you know, like... Because we're such a throwaway society, you know.
Well, as you guys do a bit of camping, like, what happens when you lose like a button or get a tear in a jacket or something? Do you like stitch it up or?
No, I don't use a lot of buttons actually. but no, a tear in that, depending on what it is, it's pretty much useless.
Yeah.
as a raincoat, but or something. But it depends on what it is, and
sort of gone are the days of the repairing. Like I remember my dad's old bush shirts that Mum used to sew patches on.
Yeah. And
I think she made us kids' shirts, out of old bush shirts. Remember we had those ones that were like different colours?
Oh yes, that's right. yeah.
So as a kid growing up, we had camping sleeping bags that were made out of adult sleeping bags. That they just cut it down the middle and then stitched up one side. And so it was big enough for to put a kid in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
It's sort of gone in those days, though, isn't it? That's not what we do in society anymore. Is it? We're quite a throwaway society.
Apparently, what they said in the things I was reading, that they do donate a lot of, you said out of date stock, like that's going out of stock. They donate a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they were saying a lot of the stuff they're throwing away just wasn't good enough to pass on. And but the thing that you're saying about like doing it in front of the homeless guy and teasing him with shoes. I just think that that's those certain people being a dick.
Yeah, I think you're quite right there, actually. Yeah,
there is a big difference between a company throwing away gear and some people being dicks to a homeless guy, you know.
Yeah.
So
I guess you could say it's just the media, as always, just hyping things up a little bit.
Might have been a slow news day.
Yeah, exactly.
What never heard any more about it. So.
What I've had a look at, and there's a company that's not really that big in New Zealand, but it's quite large in the States, called Patagonia, and they have some fantastic repair options and policies. And now, yes, they're in the States, so they have a bigger market, a lot more gear and a bigger pool and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, you can send old stuff back for them for repair, and they'll repair it. And I think they even recycle it to use to repair other garments if it's beyond repair. And so they actually do that. So there is a company out there that does recycle and reuse this sort of stuff.
Because that's good. They're thinking about the lifetime of the product that you're producing and saying, right, okay, so someone sends in a jacket, it's got a torn sleeve on it, well, that's fine, there's a jacket over there with the torn sleeve on the other side. So we'll just take one off and put it on the other one. Now we've got a functional jacket.
I'm not 100% how the Patagonia thing works, but I think if you send it back and it's unrepairable, you forfeit it to to them sort of thing. So, and I mean, I've never used any of their gear, but it sounds like it's in the sort of more expensive, better quality end than someone like Katmandu, but I mean, it is doable. So there are people out there doing it, and what I took issue with was that Katmandu says that they're I can't remember the exact terminology, but they are a clean, green, environmentally friendly company, and to just be wasting stuff and then saying that, I think that brings up the issue of what does it actually mean to be no waste sort of company.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, it's definitely if you're saying that you're a no waste company, that means that you're reducing the amount of waste that is going to landfill, and you're at least separating out the plastics and the organics and things like that. And from what I can read here, they're just taking it all and throwing it in. The images I did see was also going into a big waste bin. Everything just into a waste bin. Aluminium tent poles, a lot. So
they're not even recycling the aluminium.
Yeah, and that's worth money.
It's probably the same tent probably still exists. You're always breaking poles and never broken an aluminium one, but
no, but I mean, plenty of people have broken poles.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't they put the poles in the pole bin and sell them as poles?
Yeah.
You know, that's so. Yeah. I mean, so there are people out there doing it, and they're doing it better, but Katmandu doesn't have to do it, do they?
No.
This is their stuff. They're allowed to throw it out if they want to.
True. However, you've got to also say, well, what's being a good corporate citizen, basically, about doing the right thing and helping out those people who are less fortunate at the same time, particularly if you've got stuff that you're just going to throw away anyway.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like Katmandu was actually doing that with their older stock that wasn't moving or wasn't selling, and they were gifting it.
But to me, that would be the normal standard these days. But I think if you're going to advertise as a progressive, clean, recycling, go the environment sort of company, I think you need to be doing more than that, than just giving away some old stock. I think you need to be thinking about outside the box and thinking seriously about reducing wastage. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, where's the standard for calling yourself a green company? And I think Katmandu hasn't hit the standard.
I think they've still got a bit more work to do. Definitely a bit more PR work to do.
Oh, definitely.
But I think this will be an excellent learning experience for them as a company and how to handle public relations.
Yeah. Do you know what I reckon is going to happen? I reckon they're going to have a board meeting, and I've been in lots of corporate meetings and stuff through work, and it's a joke. Do you know what I think the meeting will be about? Is how do we get the bins inside so no one can see what we throw out? And that'll be their solution to the problem.
Yeah, let's buy secure bins which are located inside. We'll get them picked up by a security company.
Yeah.
No one will know, and ultimately it'll be whatever the cheapest option is, because they're there to make money.
That's it, but why is it always the cheapest option? Why not do the best option?
Yeah, well.
I mean, like, look at what we're saying with this Patagonia company. We don't. They're not very big in New Zealand, but we've just spent a couple of minutes talking about them onto a podcast, which hopefully thousands of millions of people will listen to, and not just our mum. But yeah, so we've just given them literally free advertising.
Yeah,
for something that something good that they do, because they are pushing the boundaries. And I mean, much bigger players would have talked about it and stuff, especially in the States and now. So surely it's got to be worth more to them than a few dollars.
Well, that's true.
That's true. No,
That's
yeah,
true.
well, fair enough.
I can't argue with that.
No arguing. All right, moving on. What's up next?
Next up, we're going to be talking about freedom camping.
Freedom camping.
Freedom camping.
You were talking about that, George.
Yes, I was.
Alright.
Alright.
What have you found out?
Freedom camp. I still had to go and find out what freedom camping actually was. Because to me, it's all freedom camping to me. I rock up and pitch my tent and then it's all good. But I went in, the definition of freedom camping is in the Freedom Camping Act of 2011, is that it's camping near a road which has good vehicle access within 200 metres, or the low tide line.
Oh, okay.
And anywhere that has good vehicle access. And that includes like camper homes, tents, any staying overnight in any structure. It doesn't include like taking a nap on the side of the road or anything.
What about sleeping in a car that's designed to sleep in?
Yes.
Okay.
That's still classed as freedom camping.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as things are now, you have designated sort of freedom camping spots.
Yeah.
And you also have spots that can only be used by self-contained vehicles, caravans, motorhomes. That means you have to get them certified to actually be classed as that. And
does that mean they have like their own toilet facilities and stuff?
yeah, pretty much.
Own toilet facilities,
Yes.
Cooking facilities, shower facilities,
Yeah.
and usually generates its own power source as well.
Yeah, generally. And I didn't go into that much detail. My eyes were getting pretty heavy by the end of reading that.
So I did a little bit of looking into it as well, just quickly before I got here. Doing my research as I should do before this.
Yes.
And from what I discovered is that there's a lot of councils around there that have gone, okay, we've got this Freedom Camping Act now, and it's supposed to be helping, but it's not working like it should. Because they say, right, we're going to regulate this particular campsite, and now everyone just moves 500 metres down the road. And they have had issues with enforcement. So, I mean, I think it's in Queenstown, they've got wheel clampers that will go and clamp vehicles that are not registered as self-contained. But then, of course, how do you wheel clamp a tent?
That's the thing, you wheel camp the car.
Yeah, because it's all vehicle access, isn't it?
Like, if you went 250 metres from your car, the Act doesn't apply.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of little things like that, and I can see the reason why.
Oh, sorry, not just from your car, from the road.
Yeah.
You couldn't park at 200 metres down the road and walk at 200 metres, then walk 50 metres to say into the bush or something. You have to be away from the road 200 metres is about the boundary of it. So go 250 to be safe and you're sweet.
Oh,
But that doesn't mean you can go camp anywhere, because private land still the rights around that, and it's basically public land.
Yeah.
Where and you can still say no camping. They are allowed to. Yeah. Yeah, on public land. But biggest issues have been rubbish and people crapping everywhere.
Well,
and it seems to be a few spoiling it for a lot of people. But
Because from what I was reading, there's a lot of them are people coming to New Zealand, and they're from overseas. They're on the OE. We go to England. They come to New Zealand, and while they're cruising around, they're sending lots of photos. They're Snapchatting, they're Instagramming, putting it up on Twitter and everything else. People still use Twitter these days?
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, I still don't have any social media, so.
Yeah. And it's free advertising for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Like you're getting some amazing vistas from far-flung little places,
the thing is and this is my problem with it, is most dock campsites are somewhere from $6 to $15 a night.
Well, there are a few free ones.
There are a few runs, but they are pretty few and far between these days.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah.
I haven't used one for so long.
Yeah, no. But you know, they have a long drop, the rubbish bins, and you know, they have the facilities to look after our country. And I think if there was like 20 people a year that went freedom camping in New Zealand, that'd be cool. But there's thousands and thousands of tourists coming through, and that's good for our economy, and it's good for, but you know, our environment can't support that many people pooing on the side of the road. You know, like
that's a good point.
And that's what it comes down to. And I don't think it's the problem with them sleeping on the side of the road. It's the pooing and the
rubbish.
and the rubbish and all that stuff.
And,
you know,
and especially sort of sensitive environments,
yeah,
like sand dunes and things like that. That can't have people lying across them all the time. Or, you know.
yeah.
So, I mean, this is part of the reason the Act was set up, though, was to have designated areas which could be used for freedom camping.
Yeah, how many
and they
areas
have
are there,
the
though?
necessary facilities there, like they've got some toilet blocks and a few other things. But
Are they free?
they're still
Yes, it's probably
still free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the issue that's been coming up is that the maintenance costs and having somebody go out there to clean up and to enforce the fact that you're only supposed to be there overnight for 3 days or whatever the rules are, all costs to to the taxpayers.
Hence why the dock campsites charge you $6 to $15 a night.
Exactly. But for smaller districts, with it, like for example down in the South Island, you've got the Mackenzie country, which are just putting in place some new legislation to try and combat the issues of how they're going to actually go about paying to enforce these freedom camping sites, because they don't have the resources to do that, and so they're trying to get local or national body or national government to actually come in and say, hey, look, we'll help with that enforcing process, because they can't afford it. So,
do you think people should have the right, New Zealanders and tourists alike, to just camp anywhere on public land?
There was a time where I would say yes, but I think we've come past that point now, where we do live in a user-pays society for a large part.
And there is too many people.
Yeah.
Because we're talking highly accessible places.
Yeah.
We're not talking, 2 days hike at the back of nowhere.
No.
We're talking highly accessible places, which of course have high numbers of people.
Yeah.
Which, leads to all the problems we discussed.
Yeah.
And it's all good and great to say, yeah, we're going to make it available, this campsite, and it's got a nice walking track that goes off and has a good view, but somebody's got to pay to maintain that highly busy walking track now that you've got 200 plus people camping overnight, which is what's happening at some of these sites in peak times.
What's to say that those people that are coming into those areas aren't spending money into the economy anyway?
A lot of those areas, I'm not sure about how many, but a lot of them don't have local economies, especially in the out of the way places. But you talk a lot of the more touristy places. We'll say for example, we'll say Coromandel. A lot of little townships along the way.
Yeah.
People can spend money along the way, but you go out somewhere, probably, we'll say West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm not hugely up on my geography around there, but no, not quite as many townships along. So you sort of take it all with you, don't spend as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that are doing this are probably trying to travel cheaply.
Yeah, that's the
it's not a crime. Like that's all
of
well and
funds.
good. But they're gonna be doing a lot of buying at Pack and Save, the cheapest supermarket you can find, and all that. So I just think if you want a campsite and you want to camp somewhere close to your car, you should have to pay for it. I don't think sort of the $6 to $15 a night is.
Well, I mean, we do have
unreasonable.
campgrounds in New Zealand as well. We have, like, for example, Top Quality Camp or whatever it is, and a few
top
other
10 or whatever.
top 10, top 10.
I don't know. We don't really use that sort of stuff, so.
But they're still relatively low cost. Plus, you've got the added security that goes into it as well. There's been a lot of occasions now where we've got tourists that are being, they've just got a tent there, so people are going in and breaking and taking stuff out of their tents. A lot of high-tech gadgets and whatnot, cell phones. that sort of thing. And if you're on a campsite, at least you've got someone at the entrance who's saying, "Hey, you're actually camping here," and checking to make sure that these things aren't happening.
Well, that's sort of private ones. All the public ones, a lot of the time just don't have anyone there. It's only you have to rely on other people there.
Yeah, and a lot of it's honesty box sort of payment and stuff, eh?
Yeah.
So.
Like busier places, like
busy places have a ranger.
A ranger all just during the busy season of summer mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think if you want the freedom of like just pitching up camp wherever you sort of feel like it, get out of the car.
You're going to have to do some Ks.
You're going to have to walk the Ks, aren't you?
And that's the big problem we found is trying to find somewhere to park your car.
Actually, yeah.
Well, like when we go trying to find somewhere new to go hunting.
Yeah.
Trying to find somewhere to park your car. You know,
Well, that becomes another issue as well. It's like you've got 20 cars there, you've got 20 people there. It's been designated as a car park and not a freedom camping site.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between the likes of you guys going hunting and somebody else who's actually camping there? How the enforcement guy comes along and goes, well, just clamp every vehicle that's been here for longer than 3 days.
Oh, you sort of know if people are living in their car though, you know.
Well, I guess there's ways to tell.
And if you're gonna do a trip into the bush, you generally don't leave stuff in your car.
Yeah.
Because I mean, your car's in the bush. You know, it has a chance of getting burglarised. It's never happened to me.
No, hope it never does.
Hope it doesn't, but you know there is a chance. So, you know, you're not going to leave that iPad sitting on the front seat.
It's going to stay at home.
Yeah, you know, like it's
it
not.
stays at home or it comes with you.
Yeah, so people would know, and I just think if you want that freedom, get it on your legs, eh? Like, it's not freedom if you can drive there anyway. You know what's the you're like, yes, I slept next to the road. You know, how is that like a sense of achievement? You haven't done anything. I mean,
you got away for a bit out of the city a bit, man.
Yeah, but you know, get your or pay the money for the campground. You know.
So I mean, I guess that leads into the question of, you know, what about quality of site? Like for New Zealanders at least anyway, we're going to be wanting to go to somewhere that we don't know as well. So we'd be looking at, like, for example, going for that longer hike into the bush to find those nice vistas, whereas, you know, these tourists are probably going to be sticking to the more
quick and easy.
The quick and easy routes and the
they're
nice
there.
comfortable ones. And
that sort of stuff's there. It doesn't mean you have to sleep there, you know.
Well, that's true.
You know, there's plenty of places that aren't far. You know, like half an hour's drive. Our country's tiny. You know, like it doesn't take that long to drive places here, really.
South Island's a bit different.
Well, South Island's a bit bigger.
So I don't think freedom camping's really a huge thing that New Zealanders would do then.
I don't know the figures on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, but
if for example,
I think it's become quite popular lately just because of economics.
Well, yeah, news coverage of
news
the topic,
coverage,
but
and which brings attention to it. Oh, we'll try that.
Yeah, but
and the
good
amount of second-hand camper vans and like vans that have been built into campers and cars that have been built into campers, just because of the high tourist numbers of use, there's a whole bunch that they're not as expensive anymore and all that sort of stuff because there's so many around, you know.
But for me, for example, it's like, all right, get in the car and go for a drive. You leave a little bit earlier in the morning, get to Tongaredo, do the walk through there, get back to the car, head home again.
It's a big day.
It's a big day, but it's doable.
It is doable. It is.
Whereas
but
if you're a tourist, you're
to
going
stay in
to park up.
Tongariro. There's plenty of backpackers and stuff.
Campgrounds.
Campgrounds that are very, very cost effective.
But at the same time, there's, you know, it's more likely to be some tourists that have come in, they've picked up that cheap camper that you're talking about, and sleeping in the back of the car, driving around, park up, check out the nice shiny track.
Here's the thing, though. I reckon, and this is, I'm yet to prove it, and we may look into this a bit further, and we may try and do this one day when I've got some money. Is I reckon it would be cheaper to buy a cheap car. Because cars in this country are a lot cheaper than vans.
Yeah.
A cheap car, a cheap tent, and I reckon you'd have enough money left over to pay for your campsites.
I reckon you probably would, actually.
And your car's probably better to drive, and you know you got back seats and all kinds of things.
You're kind of lacking the luxury factor, but
No.
You've got air conditioning in your car. That's a luxury if you're camping.
You have air conditioning in the camper van too.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking
Cooking facilities. Or
we're talking the lower end of it, like
a toilet.
a lot of the vans don't have toilets in them.
Oh, you know, the vans, just the bigger camper vans.
Yeah, but we were talking the smaller style stuff.
Yeah.
But that is the thing, you know. Hey, those big camper vans aren't cheap.
No.
You know, you could probably sleep in your own room in a backpackers for your entire trip for the price of the camper van. You know, I mean, cars are pretty cheap here.
One of the advantages, though, of having your own vehicle, particularly if you're staying backpackers...
I'm saying buying a car and paying to stay in a backpackers is probably more cost effective than hiring a camper van.
Yeah. Well, hiring a camper van, yeah, true. They charge the world for those things.
They're not cheap.
But say you've got like 4 people that you're travelling with.
Four people fit in a car.
You're talking $80 at $20 per person in a backpackers. It's going to become... Now we're starting to talk maybe more cost effective.
But you need a pretty big vehicle for 4 people.
No, the standard sort of camper van, not huge.
You got two.
But you're talking more of like a camper truck than this normal van.
We're not talking like a normal. We're talking a proper camper van.
A proper camper van.
Yeah. But most of the Freedom campers and stuff are just vans.
You can get 3 people pretty snug in a van.
Yeah, but you have to be pretty good friends. I wouldn't go against it.
We've slept smaller places.
We have. We're brothers. That's all right.
Understandably, I'm a little bit creepy sometimes, but that's
creepy beds.
Something to keep you warm at night.
Yeah, but honestly, I just think people need to respect our country a bit with that sort of stuff. And I mean, it goes for every country, you know. You know, if 1 or 2 people are doing it, it's fine. It's when thousands of people start doing it that it becomes an issue. You know, all those people that did it 10 years ago and got away with it, had a great time sleeping on the side in the back of their van in our country. That's fine, but
now we've got 1,000 people trying to do it all at the same campsite. It's getting a little bit out of control. So, how do you control that? How do you regulate that? How do you try and keep those numbers down? Keep it niche.
Or you open up more campgrounds.
Maybe open up more campgrounds. I think we need to educate people coming in, because the fact is it's an environmental issue. It's not good for our environment to have people shitting on the side of the road. It's not good to have all the rubbish and all that sort of stuff. And in some of these places,
that's easy fixed. Take it with you.
Yeah.
And possibly have some kind of low cost portables that people can actually just have, basically a bucket, I guess. Encouraging people to just be educated enough to know, okay, look, take a sturdy bucket with you, and then when you get to a grey waste site, tip it down the drain.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean,
but Kiwis are pretty terrible for rubbish on the side of the road.
Oh, we are.
I used to work on farms, and you know, you used to see sides of the road all the time, and it was just littered. It was terrible. Especially some of your busier roads.
It is pretty bad, actually.
Yeah.
We need to sort that out.
Yes.
So, our final topic for today was to be going, actually, it looks like we've actually run out of time for our final topic this time.
We have run out of time.
We have. So...
should we just do it anyway?
Nah, I don't think people can sit through more than 30 minutes, I must say.
Damn, we'll have to last it this long.
I could sit for 30 minutes, but we'll find out.
Alright.
Well, anyway, to conclude, thank you for listening. Please look down on the bottom underneath this video. There we'll find links to all of our different social media things. I won't list them all off individually because we don't actually have a full list yet. But we will have them in there. Nathan assures me that he will.
Well, I think we may have to do that later today.
But thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Any questions you want answered?
Yes, any questions, please ask
for our topics?
in the comments.
Yes.
And because that gives us material for moving forward, and it'd be fantastic to be able to answer your questions. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks guys. I'm going to stop this now.